I wrote an article that I sort of hover between feeling embarrassed about and thinking maybe I'll eventually be proved right, which is that a couple of days after the vote, I wrote a piece saying I don't think Brexit will happen. And the reason was that I had seen lots of referendums take place in other European countries, and everyone said, oh my God, the Irish have voted no, the Danes have voted no, the French have voted no, and they're never respected. And indeed, that was one of the most powerful arguments of the Eurosceptics, is when they said, you know, this is not a democratic organisation. And then it seemed actually that Britain was, and it still seems that Britain is really intent on carrying this through. But in the end, will we do it? I mean, I'm just not sure. I was given pause when I was doing an event with Ken Rogoff, the Harvard economist, who he's not a particularly left-wing person, but he just said, oh, I just assume Britain won't do this because it's so obviously suicidal. And I thought, great. So I think it's possible, but I think it's a process of education. And my worry about it is that at the point where people realize, finally realize, enough people, this is like a really bad idea, that can only happen after it's been done. You've got to actually prove it, and the only way you can prove it is by doing it. So there's a problem there, but maybe there's an education role for politicians. But then again, most of our politicians, it seems to me, still think primarily in terms of gaining power and holding on to it rather than the national interest, I'm afraid.
Article 50 is revocable. John Kerr, who wrote it, thinks it is. Mr. Pyrrhus, who ran the Council Legal Services for 25 years, thinks it is. But I don't think it's going to happen, sadly. I think it will only happen, Gideon's thesis is only proved right, if there's a massive shift in public opinion, so the Labour Party becomes a party for ending Brexit. At the moment, the Labour Party is not such a party. It's led by a man who's voted against every EU treaty that ever came before Parliament in the time he's been in Parliament. He's a Eurosceptic, doesn't like the EU at all. He's in charge, and John McDonnell has a similar view to him. The Labour Party as a whole also does believe, as I said before, in restricting free movement. So I think it'd be very difficult for Labour to campaign to take us back into the EU and have another referendum. Now, the only scenario in which that changes is if the economy really tanks very badly and public opinion shifts and public opinion blames itself and not foreigners for the problem. Mm-hmm. And in such circumstances, a new reinvigorated Labour Party could promise to hold a second referendum. The Tory party will never do that because the Tory party is a fundamentally Eurosceptic party.